In sports, if you want to be the best, there are no off days.
Welcome on into the No Off Days podcast, the Nod Pod. We have Chris Cato here wearing the green Pearl Jam shirt. I'm Scott Smith, and we have BK in the booth.
Thank you for describing my clothing.
Well, it's a big component of what we do here at the Nod Pod is wardrobe.
Yes.
Even though we don't have a wardrobe budget as of yet.
One day this will be sponsored, and this will be a Frito shirt or something.
I'm surprised you don't actually have a Frito shirt in your closet.
I do. They're just dirty with Fritos stains. Flamin' hot.
Flamin' hot. Okay. Well, we have a lot to get to on today's program, and a lot of it is going to be focused in on college football because I feel like there is like some seismic stories happening right now in college football. But before we get to that, I understand that we have some breaking news. And so for that, I want to go to our breaking news correspondent, Brian King, who we find inside the control room at this moment. BK, were you prepared for this breaking news?
It just came in, Scott.
Okay.
Got it right here. Exactly. The Toy Hall of Fame. Remember last week we talked about these guys?
How could I forget?
Yes, we had a hotly contested debate over which ones should get in this year's class.
Cabbage Patch?
They did.
Battleship?
Well,
Okay.
they've announced their finalists.
Oh,
Wow.
come on, Battleship. Let's
Wait,
go.
so these are the finalists, or these
No,
are the ones
these
that are
were
in?
the actual inductees.
Okay,
I stay corrected.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Enshrinement.
Yeah, let's quickly review. Here's a 25. This is a 25th anniversary. There's a 12 finalists. So
It's a big year.
It was a big year for me. You want to be a part of this class, I would think, if you were a toy. The finalists included baseball cards, the game Battleship, as you remember, Bingo, Bop It,
That red and yellow.
the Little Tykes Cozy Coop. Yeah.
Yes.
Cozy Coop.
Cozy Coop,
The
yeah.
landscaping of every mobile home park.
Nerf ball.
The Nerf ball, slime, all this other stuff.
Yes.
So, Scott, you picked your three out of this group. That was Battleship, Choose Your Adventure books, and then baseball cards. That was
two non-toys on his list.
Exactly, that was a part of the debate.
Sure.
Cato, you went with Battleship as well. Cabbage Patch Kids,
Yes.
Connect 4.
I didn't feel good about Connect 4,
right.
Brian, to be
So
honest
are
with
we?
you.
Is this kind of like? Are we competing against each other
No,
to
no,
see
no,
like,
no.
who got the most right?
No, well, I'm just saying.
CPK.
I know.
both of
Just
you
another
got-
thing for Cato to gamble on.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, so who we got?
First of all, they snuck one in on us. They did a contemporary award, which
Wait,
was like,
what?
Yeah, contemporary
Who
award.
votes on this?
Actually, fans vote on it. It's always past finalists who've never gotten in. They put them all in a group together, and then they say, "Hey, you pick one out." And this year's winner was the corn popper.
I'm not familiar.
It's that little thing you push, and it pops
Okay,
up the
there's
balls.
a picture on our screen for our audio audience. Yes, it's
Yeah.
And I'll describe it for our audio audience.
Please
It's
do.
that cheap plastic thing that we all had.
like a lawnmower.
It's like a
plastic
dome with
lawnmower.
little plastic balls in it, and it's on two wheels. It's got a long handle. As you push it, I believe it was some kind of mechanism in there makes the balls pop.
That's fun, but not a Hall of Famer. I mean, not a Hall of Famer, please.
And
Well,
people wrote that one in, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, how about that? Okay, so here's the three inductees for the 2023 Toy
Here we go. Come
Hall of Fame.
on, CPK.
No particular order. Number 3. Boom. Cabbage
Yes.
Patch
Got
Kids.
it.
There it
That
is.
was Cato's.
Got it in. Chris is so happy.
yeah.
Still doesn't have one.
Maybe this Christmas. Maybe this Christmas.
This might be the year.
Coming in at number 2 with another drum roll. Baseball cards.
Okay, all right,
Boo.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That,
Okay, which cards are they putting in?
Well, what do we got a Roberto Clemente. Did he go by Bob Clemente?
He did.
Is that a real card? I don't remember that. He went by Bob Clemente.
I think at part of his career he did.
Really?
Yeah.
could have been a font issue, and they
Mickey
just had
Mantle.
to fit his name in there.
That's true.
Who's this
I
Mickey
wouldn't be
Mantle?
I wouldn't be playing with those cards though. Those are worth something, right?
Yeah,
there.
But
Okay.
so those aren't the two that are we don't know which ones they're sticking in the Hall of Fame. Those are just some
I
examples.
think it's just baseball
just
cards
in
in
general.
general. Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna be awkward. Which one
And-
to induct?
You ready for the last one?
Yes.
Here we go.
Tiebreaker.
We were in a-
Boom. Nerf toys.
Oh.
Wait.
Nerf
It
toys
was. Hang
makes it.
on. No, this is different. They've changed it. It was Nerf ball before,
No,
and now it's just this general umbrella of Nerf toys.
Right, but we said that was the problem with it because they split their vote because
Yeah.
some people didn't want the Nerf guns in there and some people wanted the Nerf hoops. in there.
Are people against Nerf guns now? What?
No, I was just throwing Nerf toys in general as one that popped
Okay.
in my mind. But
So it's the brand has gotten in, which
Yes.
is it's bizarre. You're setting a weird precedent, and I'm sure that there's if I can name other toy brands right now.
Go ahead.
Hasbro, Mattel.
No. Exactly.
They're all angry.
Like Hasbro toys.
Yeah, just lump them all in there. Fisher Price.
I think
Fisher
Nerf
Price.
got hosed here, and the Nerf hose got hosed too. If that's a thing, I'm not sure it is. Okay, well, I'm glad that we have circled back around on our toys. Now, let's get to more pressing matters. What do we have on today's program?
Today's show, we're going to interview 3-time major winner Nick Price.
Doing a little golfing.
A little golfing again, yes. He's into designing golf courses. I believe he's designed 13, 14, and he's got another one going up in the Bay Area here.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Talk to him about that.
Not mini golf, right? We're not talking about like
these are legit, world-class golf courses.
Not like what Tiger Woods is doing with these pop strokes that are popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, fun.
Corn pop strokes. Okay. And at the end of the program.
End of the show, this was sent in to us by one of our fans, Chris Cato. Great idea. I thought it was a great idea. We're going to take street signs, road signs from across the world, and they got some crazy ones out there, and I want you to and Chris is not, he doesn't know which ones
Oh, sure, I haven't cheated this time and looked ahead.
No, I just want to lay that out there.
Yeah, my inspiration for this was what's been in our news recently in the sports world, sign stealing.
Right.
So I thought.
Very good, yeah.
Signs.
Yeah, that's called foreshadowing, ladies and gentlemen. Okay,
You're welcome.
Sounds good. BK, we'll catch up in a
Thanks
little bit. If you're listening and you want to watch, go to fox13news.com/nodpod. If you're watching and you want to listen or subscribe, take out your phone, tap the QR code on the screen in the bottom right-hand corner, and there you can find all of our shows. Like the one that we initially talked about, the Toy Hall of Fame. That was last year, and then we followed up with more information, I believe, last year about the Toy Hall of Fame. And then last week we talked even more about the Toy Hall of Fame. It looks like we've caught a little bit of a theme here. Please subscribe, fox13news.com/nodpod. All right, so big week in college football, but there's only a handful of games that I think are really probably must-watch games this week because we've kind of gotten to the the cream puff portion of your programming.
Cupcake Saturday, which is the worst. In November, this should not happen in November.
So I figure let's kick it off by let's first talk about the games that we got this week that we think are going to be must-watches. And BK, if you have one, you can feel free to jump on in. And Chris, if you're ready, go ahead and fire.
BK always has a good one.
He does. Last week, it was the Okie State game.
He was right.
And he called it.
And he didn't tell us that UCF would be wearing those beautiful baby blue uniforms.
Yeah, I thought it was North Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put a couple down. I like K-State at Kansas just because it's the future Aggie Coach Bowl. More foreshadowing for you there. But I think I've settled on this one. Staying in the Big 12. This is the one I'm watching this weekend that I believe could have a surprising result that throws things into chaos.
Okay. Are you calling an upset or are you not calling an upset?
I'm calling it.
Okay.
Let's just call it right now.
Okay.
Let's call it right now. Number 7, Texas on the road at Iowa State. Iowa State 6-4, but they've been playing a lot better lately. It's really remarkable what Matt Campbell has done, given that half of his roster was suspended for the season because of gambling. But so here's the thing. This is why this is interesting. If Texas loses, it sinks the Big 12's college football playoff chances.
Yeah, it certainly does. And you know who's playing in that game?
Quinn Ewers.
And who's the other quarterback?
Oh,
Rocco Beck.
Yes.
Anthony Beck's son. He's a Wesley Chapel kid, and he's taken off. In fact, they're doing all kinds of like T-shirt sales. I think it's like something about his hair. Like
does he
has some? Yeah,
I'm going to have to Google this now. And Texas, by the way, lost their number 1 running back for the season last week. So this could be it's on the road, could be a tricky spot. So yeah, I'm going to call the upset. And
it seems like there's always one or two like upsets in Ames every year.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to be careful there. BK, do you have one?
I'm going to follow Cato's theme, and he started out saying it's Cupcake Saturday. I think when the Saturday's over, it's going to be Chaos Saturday.
Oh boy!
Because I'm calling the Tennessee upsetting Georgia this week.
Are you?
No.
Yes.
How does that happen?
Tennessee, they're not as bad.
Tennessee River's going to have some more holes in there.
They're bringing Dolly Parton in. That's one. She's going to be a special guest of the team. And no, I think it's got to be chaos at some point. And it was either this or the Oregon State game out there. There's got to be some upsets. It can't be just chalk all the way through here. I like the game in Ames, but Tennessee, Georgia, why not?
Yeah, well, it's a tough. Neyland Stadium's a tough place to play, but that's a different Tennessee team than they had last. I just don't see it.
They're not. Yeah, they're.
And even if Georgia loses, it doesn't really change anything. They still play Alabama in the.
It doesn't. Yeah.
SEC
no,
championship.
it probably doesn't.
No, but
I feel like Georgia's just kind of got warmed up last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but we shall see. I mean,
Brian hasn't been wrong about many of these.
That's
so.
true. I don't know why I'm doubting it. I shouldn't do that. I should learn my lesson. Okay, so you got a Vols upset. You got a Cyclones upset.
What'd that leave you with?
Oh well, I'm gonna go out west again because
Always.
that's just a stay on brand. But I don't know. I'm not gonna call the upset on this one. But it's the Washington-Oregon State game, and the reason why this game is big is because should there be an upset, Oregon State takes on UW this week. They got Oregon next week, and of course the Civil War game. And look, they have a way. They could derail the Pac-12, and they are the remember they were the one of two teams left behind in Washington State. This could be their send-off. And what a send-off it would be to the rest of the Pac-12 if they can throw a wrench by upsetting both of these teams down the stretch and making sure that neither the Pac-12 is not represented in the playoff. I mean, this could be. Oh man,
I'm down for that. That would be a story there.
Yeah. So the Beavers, they might be able to create quite the dam preventing teams from going into the playoffs. So that that game is that a Fox game?
It is, but you're not calling for the upset.
No.
Okay.
No, it just seems no. I
The
don't want to see it. So I'm
sorry.
It's
not a Fox game. I won't say what network it's on.
All right. Texas and Iowa State. Though.
Yeah, we got that one.
8 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boom.
All right. Very good. All right. So in other matters in college football, of course, Jim Harbaugh trying to galvanize his Michigan Wolverines. They had to win at Penn State last week without him. Sharon Moore, the assistant coach that filled in as the interim head coach, brought to tears, Chris, at the end of this game. It was very emotional.
Yes.
It was kind of back and forth between tears and sadness and
cursing. Yes.
on live television.
Yeah.
So
I would love to thank the Lord up above and bleepity bleep bleep bleep. That's how it went, basically.
Pretty much. And then you got Harbaugh getting out there talking about his chickens, talking about him being, this is America's team. This is the story that everybody's overlooked Michigan this whole year, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody gave them a puncher's chance.
No one picked them to win the
and here they are. They got their backs against the wall. So what do you make of what we're seeing in Ann Arbor right now with this story? And he's serving a 3-game suspension this Friday. By the time you watch this, they may have already concluded what maybe they've shortened his suspension. But the Big Ten has come in and said, look, we're slapping you with a 3-game suspension to round out the rest of the season. We've seen enough evidence already. Not really giving, I guess, due process. That's what Harbaugh's fighting for. But how do you? Yeah. What makes sense you make of it?
This has been a story that's been a fun roller coaster ride to follow, right? This whole sign stealing, scouting opponents in advance. That's what this is for. That's the violation of the Big Ten sportsmanship policy. That's where they're coming down with the suspension on Harbaugh for. I believe, now we've read a lot of reporting out there about Connor Stallions is the now former staffer who was out there scouting opponents in advance, recording opponent signs, and then using that to Michigan's benefit. A lot of the reporting suggested that he maybe somehow had shielded Harbaugh from this. In fact, there was a friend of his who went on record saying that
plausible deniability.
Yes, exactly, shielding the figurehead from any blame. Then last week, as you mentioned, the Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti, in his first year. By the way, what a great first year he got to inherit with the Northwestern mess and the Michigan State mess with Mel Tucker and now this. But anyway, he comes out kind of shockingly right before they hit the road to play this Big Penn State game and comes down with this 3-game suspension, which tells me that there's something else that they have. I wish he had been a little more forthright in what they do have. I wish he had come out and said, we have enough evidence to suggest that Harbaugh knew about this.
Well, they said just the opposite. So they have evidence that it's going on or that it happened, but they don't have evidence directly linking Harbaugh to it. So the whole point is that this is not a suspension necessarily of Harbaugh. This is punishment for the university. So this is Michigan being punished, even though to everybody, it looks like it's Harbaugh and the football program being punished. So,
well, this is my last thought on this. Probably not this, but this is where I land on this. I think this was a good move. I know Michigan hates it, But I feel like Petiti, this is showing strong leadership, because it would have been easy to say, we're going to wait and see what the NCAA does. We're going to let the NCAA lead. And I think that's where we thought this was going to go the whole time. And we know that the NCAA is going to drag its feet, and there might be a punishment 2 or 3 years from now. So I feel like this was strong leadership on his part when you have the other Big Ten schools and presidents and athletic directors coming to you and saying, look, we know this happened because we have this surveillance video pulled from these games where this guy was there stealing our signals. So are you going to do anything about it or not? So I feel like he came out, this was a show of strong leadership on his part.
Part of this, though, is that a lot of teams, as you mentioned, the NCAA kind of acts in retrospect, and they'll go back and they'll vacate wins, which I'm sure they still reserve the right to do if they unfold this thing and it looks a lot muddier than it is right now. But it feels like a lot more talk and discussion about like the severity of this thing than it actually is. It just does not feel that big of a deal.
It's not a severe punishment.
To me. It's not. I mean, and for Harbaugh to get up there and act like he's the most vilified person in the world, look, it's galvanizing his team, and of course, the Michigan alum and boosters and fans, they love it, and maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's the show. That's his audience, right? But at the end of the day, like it does matter if your head coach isn't there on game days, right? Because I mean, there's some in-game calls that Harbaugh would have to make, but I'm sure he trusts his staff. He's able to be there for during the week game planning and as they get ready for their next game. So I just think in the grand scheme of things, you're not being taken away from a Big 12 or a Big 10 championship possibility. It's going to come down to the Ohio State game. That's what this is all about. Harbaugh not being there against the Buckeyes, and how much that plays a factor.
Do you think that does play? Like, would that give Ohio State a slight edge if Harbaugh's
No, I
not on the sideline?
I think it gives Michigan the edge because motivation is so key. I mean, this rivalry is you don't really need to add any more to it, but I mean, if Michigan is talking like they are the most victimized team on the planet, and this is America's team and a case to rally behind, then I feel like that gives them a lot more motivation for this game. So in some strange way, I think it's a benefit to Michigan. But
it's a good point.
And I don't know that Ohio State loves it, even though maybe it's Ohio State and other teams within the conference that are kind of in the commissioner's ear saying, hey, punishment needs to come down. This could backfire. But
I think that's true. Most importantly, what's your reaction to his thoughts on chickens?
Well, I think he was dead on, right? So the high production and
low maintenance.
It's funny. Like I got into the chicken business right around the time he did, and I was amazed by these little birds.
Would you echo what he said, that he comes home and they're happy to see him? Where he said, I do a lot of nice things for people, and they don't show me appreciation, but these chickens
the birds do.
Do you get the same kind of
love? Precisely, but
Okay.
I don't read too much into their intentions. I think I'm just food guy. So I'm the food drops from my hand, and that's what they care most about. But yes, they pay off.
Okay.
Especially with egg prices going up.
Yeah.
All right. So the other big story in college football, of course, Jimbo Fisher getting the jumbo payment to leave Texas A&M, fired, and gets $77 million. What's a million between friends? To walk away and take his money and run, right? He gets a giant chunk of that, nearly $20 million within the next 60 days, and then the rest is going to be in Bobby Bonilla type payments. Even better though, because it's $7 million a year until 2031. This is the largest payout ever. I read somewhere where college football has paid out in like dead cat money, essentially, over $500 million in dead money to coaches to just stop coaching. This has happened within the last. I'm not sure what the time frame is, but I mean, when you think about all the money that Texas A&M is paying out, they're going to have to also buy out their assistant coaches' salaries.
Yeah.
They're also going to have to probably buy out whoever they're hiring from the existing university.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is so much money that is going. Like it's like $50+ million within the next couple of months that they're paying out just to get rid of Jimbo Fisher. Is it worth it, Chris?
Well, that's why the oil prices, the gas prices are what they are in Texas right now. I mean, part of that, what you said there, yes, they do have to pay him all of this money. That first $20 million installment is coming from what they call the 12th Man Fund. So this is your oil guys. These are your boosters. So that isn't coming from athletic department funds, but the $7.3 million installments for the next 8 years will come from the budget. And to your question,
it's the rainy day fund.
It's the rainy day fund. But to your question, is it worth it? That's yet to be determined. It depends on what you do now with this person, this next coach you're bringing in. That's when you find out if it's worth it. I mean, if we could look at past cases where, so Auburn had before this happened, the highest buyout was Gus Malzahn. It was like $21 million. And they bring in Hugh Freeze, and it's too early to tell if it's worth it. But, he had to go in that case. But
I guess, is it worth it isn't the best question. Is it going to work, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're doing this because they're paying all this money because winning a national championship is worth it, and finding the right guy that can lead you to the promised land is worth it. But I guess, is this going to generate exactly the outcome that you're hoping for, right?
Yeah, which is what they thought they were getting when they went and paid Jimbo all this money to come from Florida State.
Got a national championship under his belt already.
Coach Saban is, disciple and all this, and it just blew up in their face. So it really depends on who they hire here. And maybe they don't go the route that they went with Jimbo last time, which is trying to get a guy that checks a bunch of boxes.
Before we get to the names, where is Texas A&M in terms of the quality of job? I mean, you're already, when you look at the names of all these people, there's some that are at established programs and they're winning right now, and we'll get into that in just a second. But how prestigious is Texas A&M in college football as a landing spot?
I think it's a top 10 job, and maybe top 5 to 7. I think it's a great job because of the resources you have, because of the buy-in you have from the administration, the fans, obviously, the wealthy oil barons out there.
So you just said money in 3 different ways. Okay.
But also I think it's a good job because it is in the SEC, where they're about to write a new TV deal with TV networks, and so your cash flow is going to increase even more. And I think it becomes more attractive starting next season because Texas A&M, there won't be divisions anymore. So there will be, I think, for the next Texas A&M head coach, there will be an easier path to an SEC title where you don't have to play Alabama.
Easier?
Yeah, you don't have to play Alabama.
How is it easier? You're adding even more talent to your pool to compete against. You're adding a Texas and an Oklahoma.
Texas and Oklahoma are going to be like middle of the pack SEC teams.
Well, we'll see.
They will be.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Okay, so Nick Saban's not coaching forever. So this next Texas A&M coach will be in an SEC where you don't have divisions and you're not going butting heads with Saban every year. I think it's going to be a better setup for this next coach, and I think it is a really good job. Well, I just think it's been...
Maybe he's more worried about butting heads with Kirby Smart over the future. But the point is, I don't see how the SEC is getting easier. Like that, to me, I didn't say
the SEC's getting easier. I said Texas A&M will have a better... You won't be locked into this division.
You have a better chance because the playoff is expanding, but to be a preeminent, year in, year out, leader in the SEC, I don't see that road. So
you're saying expectations are just too high at Texas A&M. You shouldn't set your sights on SEC championships and national championships.
No, I mean that's what every school is doing, right? I think, but there has to be a measure of reality too, right? When I assess good jobs, there's several factors, in college football, and I think the number one thing is winnability. Can you win? Can you win there? And for Texas A&M, that is, I don't think that's a firm yes, because you're competing against the best of the best, and it's very difficult. I mean, you're competing against your second tier in your own state in recruiting. I mean, you're competing against Texas, right, who's now coming into the SEC, making things even more complicated. And to Jimbo's credit, he did a great job recruiting, developing. I'm not sure about that. But so on top of that, you have winnability, which I think is recruiting. Okay, yeah, recruiting. I'll give you that. You can recruit there. Texas is a big state, so and they've already proven they can recruit there. On top of that, longevity. Is it a job that I can be at that I'll feel like I can establish something and be a Bobby Bowden, a Nick Saban, someone that, a Kirby Smart, someone that can be here for the long haul, that I can build up enough cred to where I have a bad year and I'm not worried about looking over my shoulder. I would say no. You don't have that there at Texas A&M.
How long did Jimbo have?
6 years. You
I
got
mean,
fired in year number 6.
That's pretty good. We're firing coaches
I think
after
that-
2 years
well,
now.
That's true, but I mean,
This isn't the Jackie Sherrill of the 1990s where you're going to be R.C. Slocum.
Yeah, but out of he's had 2 8-wins, 2 9-win seasons.
He's had top 5 recruiting classes every year, and that's where the expectation falls short. Previously Texas A&M didn't get these top 5 classes. Now all of a sudden you're getting the same guys Alabama and Georgia are getting, but you're not.
Texas has been recruiting having top classes for years. They have been totally off the radar so it's not just a matter of you can have some type of assessment from 24/7 Sports that says this guy's a 5-star, this guy's a 4-star, but you have to convert that talent into something that makes sense on the football field too, and there's so many other factors that come into play.
I think you're saying that Jimbo didn't have long enough to prove that he could develop these players?
I'm not saying that. I agree with their assessment in that Jimbo had a program stuck in neutral. I get it. I'm not saying that they were wrong to fire him. I'm not saying that at all. But when I look at jobs that are worth it to me, are the best. So it kind of hits on all 4 of those things. So again, winnability, recruiting, longevity, and then the 4th thing would of course be money, which is not a problem at Texas A&M, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not just which job pays the best, right? If that's the metric, then A&M's probably one of the best jobs in the country, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I don't know. I think Texas A&M feels like they're their cowboy boots are a little too big for their feet. You know what I'm saying? I think that they feel like what they are as a program. I don't recall a national championship.
1939.
Yeah. They claimed the national championship. So I mean, this team is good. They're competitive, but I don't know, man.
They don't have an identity. Yeah.
They don't, and the problem is now you have set a standard where you have paid a coach $70 plus million to not coach. When you have a fully guaranteed contract, I'm sorry, how can you expect to have the same passion and vigor from your coach and everybody when there's nothing really other than, hey, go out and win the national championship? But there's no other incentive. I could also tank. I could also bomb. It's not going to change my bottom line at all. If I lose my job, his salary doesn't even offset. So, if he gets another job, he's going to make that money, and he's still going to make his Texas A&M firing money, too.
It's good to be Jimbo. But don't you think Jimbo has broken that mold? We're not going to see this fully guaranteed contract again. This isn't happening again. These athletic directors are going to learn from this.
How?
Oh, easy.
It's the same thing. Once you break the seal, it's like quarterbacks. It's like what the Deshaun Watson. You're trying to put this toothpaste back in the tube. Good luck, man.
I don't think it is.
If I'm the next guy that is interviewed at Texas A&M, I'm looking at Jimbo's contract, then I'm going to say, okay,
well,
how much do you want me? Because presumably he's coming from unless they're going to go pluck somebody from a low rank,
yeah,
they're going to go get the big guy.
Yeah, thank you. Do that. That's what I'm saying to Texas A&M. Break that cycle. Do that. Go get a guy that's a winner. Go get a guy that's a winner at a lower level.
Well, that's what they thought they had at Jimbo.
Well, no,
a guy
they
that
did.
was established that had won
They
before.
did, but I'm saying you can get a guy who's just as good or better of a coach, hopefully better than a coach, who isn't going to have that expectation of I need $9 million right now to do this for you, who's just as effective. I'm trying to segue you here into our candidates.
Okay,
You're not taking the bait.
Let's get into our candidates. Okay, all right. So let's give me who your top candidate. If you are Texas A&M right now, and you're the guy that just dropped $70 million to get that Jimbo Fisher character out of the athletic department, who you obviously get first pick. Who do you want? Who do you want to go after?
Look, Ross Bjork, the athletic director, is saying that he decided that Jimbo would be fired.
Of course.
And he will decide who's going to be hired. Mm-hmm. It's not Johnny Oil Baron. Well, I think you've got to call some guys that are going to say no, but I think you've got to call them because you're Texas A&M and you can.
Okay.
I think
so first call.
You call Kirby Smart.
Okay.
You say, what will it cost? He says no. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And you call Dan Lanning, who has already adamantly earlier this week said, no, never, I'm going to stay here as a duck for life.
Infamous last words, right?
Yeah. But I think those guys aren't realistic. I think in my list of Lane Kiffin, too, I would put in that pile. I would say
not realistic.
I don't think he is. And
Why?
I think because of the money. Lane's currently making $9 million.
Okay.
I know this is hard to believe given that we've just talked about how A&M has infinite oil resources, but I do believe that this will be a factor in this hiring. as you are paying, because they said this is going to come out of the athletic department budget, as you are paying Jimbo $7.3 million a year, can you really pay his replacement more than $9 million a year in addition every year? No,
yeah, I believe they can,
I don't think
I believe they must too. Because look,
no, Ross Bjork said that that's going to be a factor. Is that they cannot, like, that's something they're going to heavily consider, is the fact of what we're going to pay this new coach in addition to this $7.3 million. I think it's going to be a factor.
We made a foolish decision before, guys, but we're not going to fall into that trap again.
Yeah.
So we're going to go in and we're going to be, bearing our coupons. We're hoping to hire somebody on a budget.
Listen, I would call Mike Elko. He's been there.
Okay.
Their defense, when he was under Jimbo as defensive coordinator from 2018 to 2021, one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
I knew the administration there knows him. He's known amongst the Texas high schools there, the places you need to recruit. He's done a great job at Duke, and I know he's not the flashiest. I don't know if he exudes win the press conference type hire, but I think he's such a good coach, and if you pair him with the right good young offensive coordinator, that could work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. He's my top pick also.
All right, but he's not my top pick.
Okay. What was your top? What was Kirby? Was it Kirby?
Jeff Traylor is my top pick.
Really?
Yeah.
From Texas, San
UTSA.
Antonio.
Yeah, so the Roadrunners.
Okay. Because you think that you can get him on a budget. He's
making
young.
$2.5 million now.
He's a Texas guy.
Yeah, he's. I've read that the Texas high school coaches, which have like a union there, like you have to kiss the ring if you're going to coach any of these college programs there. They didn't like Jimbo. Didn't like old Jimbo very much. So I think that you've got to get a guy that has their respect. Traylor obviously has that. He has won, national state championships at the high school level there, and now has done a great job at UTSA. 37-13 in his fourth year there. He's going to get a Power 5 job at some point. Why not make it this one?
Yeah. No, I think that having Texas ties is really, really important. I think knowing that recruiting base and experience there is going to be important. So that wouldn't be a bad hire. I do like Elko first because he's actually dealt with those boosters. He's actually been a part of that program. He gets it. He knows what the expectation is. It's a little bit more of a flashy hire, not personality-wise, but the fact that he's won at a big-time level in the ACC, that he's done some big things there at a program that is not known for being a football program.
Right.
So he's my number one, but I do think you go for Lane Kiffin. I think you make an effort to go for Lane, and it's not necessarily about how much money are you making a year, but how much money are you going to guarantee, and that's part of the lure too. I think the idea of going after, here's the thing, with Lane, I think the results speak for themselves. What he's done, wherever he's gone, I mean, he's later act.
Right.
Let me put it that way.
Okay.
I think it's impressive. He gets college football as it is, not how it used to be or how somebody wants it to be. But the NIL, the transfer portal, all that stuff. He has an exciting offense. He can recruit. I think he would make a lot of sense. And if you throw some more, he's already been at half the teams in the SEC already. So might as well.
He's already stolen all of their signals.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. In addition to that, they have names like Dan Lanning, as you mentioned. He's shot that down. I don't see him going. You have Deion Sanders at Colorado.
That's not real though, is it?
Here's if it was Texas, if I was Texas A&M, I would give it a consideration. I don't know how good of an X's and O's and game coach he is. Look, we're still in the middle of this whole test subject, but the fact that what he's been able to do, I think, at Colorado, I know they've been on a slide as they got into the teeth of the Pac-12, but
he's made them relevant.
Yeah. I mean, look, you're going to be able to compete immediately in luring talent, so that is going to win. Plus, you pair that with an established NIL brand, and I think.
Yeah,
it could be interesting. It could be very interesting to see what he could do there. That's not going to happen because Shador, I don't think, can transfer without sitting out a year. So so that
he couldn't bring his Louis. He couldn't bring his Louis to College Station.
All the Louis.
What do you think about Dan Campbell?
Now
you can't put your biased Lions hat on here.
I mean, I do. I think it kind of makes sense. He's an A&M guy. He's a Texas guy. They could pay him a lot of money. But I think just that change going to the college game. He's been an NFL coach, and I don't know that he would be set up for success there. I mean, he's an impassioned leader. He can rally the troops. Can he go out and recruit? You know, can he appeal to a 17-year-old kid and win over the parents? That kind of stuff. Can he build a staff and all that you need at the college game?
Who would want to deal? Who wants to deal with that? Yeah, I don't know.
It's a lot, So, and he's got a pretty good thing going in Detroit too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
I don't know that he'd want to leave it, but it's it's a fascinating development, and I'm sure that it will take. We probably won't know this until we get into bowl season, but. I don't know, but you also have you have transfer portal day at early
December 4th. I think that's what they want to get ahead of, because you have to re-recruit your own players and convince them not to transfer, and then go seek out other players from other programs. Let's pretend this moves at lightning speed for some reason, and people are just listening to this podcast on Friday for some reason. Shame on you. You should listen Thursday nights. And they've announced the Texas A&M head coach, and it is.
If they move that quickly, I'm going to say that it's Traylor.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's Traylor. If they can knock it out this week, then I think he's the guy. Yeah, that would make sense. If it's anybody else, they got bowl game. I mean, UTSA is going to a bowl game too, so
they might could get Kiffin to make Kiffin. They're not going to play for an SEC championship anyway. They might could sneak old Lane in there pretty quickly.
No, I think Lane would play the game. I think he'd stretch it out a little bit. If it's one of those bigger names that that there's other teams that are going to be buying, you can always kind of move your asking price up. But if you're mid-tier school like a UTSA, I could see that happening.
I think quick. Lane's waiting on the Tuscaloosa opening.
Yeah. In a matter of time, next year might be the year.
Yeah.
All right. What do you say we talk a little golf?
I need to.
Yeah. Well, Chris, our guest is a 3-time major champ. He is a Golf Hall of Famer, Nick Price, joining the No Off Days podcast. Nick, thank you so much. All right, last round of golf that you kept score in, and what was it?
I shot, let's see. We opened up our new course at MacArthur on Friday, and I think I shot 1 under. So not bad for an old guy.
Well, bring us up to speed. MacArthur is one of your design courses. Is that in Hobie Sound?
That's correct,
okay.
Yeah. Actually, I built what we call the front yard, along with Tom Fazio, and Bill Core and Brent Crenshaw just did what we now call the backyard, which was open on Friday. And they're very nice. Both courses complement each other, so we're very excited about the future.
You're a front yard guy.
I'm a front yard. Yeah, I got in about 22 years ago. We broke ground just before September 11 on our project. So we've been going for 22 years now.
So you have another project that is, I don't know that the shovel has even hit the dirt yet, but Celetta Golf Club in Mayaca City. You guys are excited about this project, I know. We're about a year away from the presumed launch date?
Yes, all things being equal, it's going to take us probably until May or June, maybe a little bit later, to complete, all of the work. And then we start planting. And as we go along, we're probably going to start this project down in the southern part of the property and then move northwards. So as we complete the southern part, we'll start grassing first, which may be as early as May next year, early May, maybe end of April. I'm not sure. Weather permitting. We get a lot of rain. It slows us down a little bit. But hopefully we won't have too much rain this winter and let us really get on with it. So, yeah, and then about a 3 to 4 month growing period through the summer. So end of October, November, somewhere around there, hopefully we'll be playing on our new golf course.
The process to do this, it's just it's a foreign concept from me. I don't understand how long it takes, and it seems like the design is obviously very key. That's your role in it, not to mention all the growing in, and I think thousands of cubic tons of dirt. I saw that you guys had to bring in millions of pounds. What is the design process? Is it as simple as like, well, I liked this hole on this course, and I'd like to make it look like this, and I like this one on this course, and I'd like to make you guys are trying to work around native vegetation and housing developments and all that.
Yes.
What's that process like?
Well, each project is totally different, and you can't actually say, obviously some of the designs and the courses that I played in the past influence my design and my philosophy. I have great favorite architects over the years who I've really sort of used a lot of their, some of the older guys, Perry Colt, Seth Rayner, and those guys. I'm a big one for incorporating the bounce of the ball in the game. I think for the longest time, we've overwatered our golf courses here in America, and it's become one-dimensional game. It's just a game in the air, whereas, golf is a game in the air and also on the ground, and you want to bring the bounce back in. So a little more linksy style golf to me is what I try and incorporate, where you're allowed to run the ball in. What we do is we start figuring out where, we've already got plans. I think we've been through 42 sets of plans to get to the final one now. And we position the lakes. We look at the best pieces of property. We look at the best flora that we have there. This piece of property has, especially around the periphery, some beautiful Florida upland with scrub oaks, live oaks, oak trees, and a lot of indigenous plants that, really are going to enhance that whole property. And what we're trying to do, we're going to try and include as much of those native or the uplands that we possibly can, as well as bringing in, creating more of the native areas, and to have those sort of separate the golf holes, so we have intimacy and privacy on the golf course. And that's one of the things we try to do. We got together with the owners right from the get-go, and we said, listen, let's put all of the houses in one spot and not all around the golf course, where, like so many golf courses in Florida and around the US, where you have, the fairways lined with condos or with houses. So what we've done is we've kept the housing and the residences to the north of the property, and then the whole of the south part of the property is going to be golf only. So it's going to lend itself, we're trying to create an experience here that a golfer, when you're out there, you're going to feel at one with the nature and the golf course. And it's going to be your own private backyard for that 3 or 4 or 5 hours, however long you're out there for.
And we do appreciate that, Nick, how your designs and your courses, this one in particular, really incorporates the natural environment of this beautiful Mayaca City area that's also rapidly growing, too, as you look at the Lakewood Ranch developments and everything there. But in respect to making nature a part of this, is there some way you can limit the number of alligators on your golf course here? Just because Mayaca City is kind of famous as alligator country, the Mayaca River there are some monsters that live in that thing. And, we have... there's alligators on just about every course in Florida, but can you set a limit? Can you limit the gators on the course in any way?
Well, they transition, and most of the gators move at night. They'll move from one pond or one lake to the other, and there's a lot of wetlands around there. Obviously, we're going to have a fence, and we'll berm the perimeter of the property, so it'll be difficult for them to get in. But there will be places where they will get in, especially from the riverside. But most of the time, if you just leave gators be, they're not going to bug you. And obviously, sometimes you have a nuisance alligator who chases people's dogs and things. So, but generally speaking, you leave them alone; they're not going to harm you at all.
It sounds like there's going to be membership dues for even the Gators.
As there should be. They need to pay their dues.
Elite to get in. Well, speaking of, I was curious because Southern Florida is probably a little bit different than Southern Africa, where you're originally from, but they have crocodiles there. Do they hang out on golf courses there?
Fortunately not. They are a different predator altogether. They are much more aggressive. The Nile crocodile is really, I don't know how to say it. I'm terrified of them. I'm not nearly as scared of alligators as I am of crocodiles. But, one thing you did do when we were back home, you learned to ski really well because you didn't want to spend too much time in the water. So a lot of us, when we were water skiing, we got up really quickly. But, the natural flora or the natural fauna that we're going to have then at Celetta is going to be something, they are going to be, as with any golf course in Florida, you are going to have, alligators. And, I'm looking forward to one of the great things about that area is the bird life. And I honestly, with the Mayaca River just going to the south of us, there's some beautiful bird life. And once we start, with the lakes on the golf course, and, it's going to attract even more beautiful birds. So, but there's always going to be, issues with wildlife on Florida golf courses. All you got to do is give them a wide berth, though. That's the one thing. Just let them be, and they'll let you be.
The problem is that my co-host here, Nick, loves to hit it where the Gators are.
That's right.
So, if you just kept it in the fairway, you'd probably be okay. But yeah.
What is the rule? What's the penalty? Do I have to, if one lands next to a Gator's mouth, my ball, do I have to take a stroke there? Or
Well, it depends on your playing partners. But if I were you, I'd drop it as far away from it as you possibly can. The other thing is leave your ball retriever at home, guys. Don't anywhere near them.
If you're playing with me, the answer is play it as it lies. Absolutely.
I knew you would say that.
Yeah. Can I ask you a little bit back in the day in some of your more fond memories
Sure.
out on the PGA Tour? I got to ask you, of course, about the Masters, and it still holds the lowest, the 63 that you shot. What was that, 86?
86, yeah.
Tell me about that round and what it felt like to start it, and as you were playing, did you have a sense of how special it was?
Well, I was really frustrated because on the Thursday I shot, I think it was 78, and I had 5 3-putts. Augusta, I'd grown up on greens that were much slower than that, and I always battled, through most of my career on really, really fast greens. So I'd been working really hard on my tee to green game, the 3-4 weeks before the Masters, and then I'd go out and shoot 78, hitting the ball beautifully and putting really poorly. So the next that evening, I went onto the putting green with David Ledbetter, who was my coach at the time, and we worked on a few things. And the next day, I putted a lot better. I shot 68, made the cut, and now I'm really happy. A lot of the pressure's off. And anyway, that Saturday morning, the conditions of the golf course were perfect for scoring. Not much wind. I think we'd had a little bit of rain overnight, so it was a bit soft. And I ended up bogeying the first hole, and I thought, here we go. I'm going to either shoot 77. I'm going to probably shoot another 77 today. Anyway, what happened thereafter was I had 10 birdies. I putted like the best I've ever putted at Augusta, and ended up shooting 63 and breaking the course record. And the most important thing for me at that stage was the fact that I had now played myself into contention to have a chance to win the next day, which I didn't do. Jack Nicklaus shot that 66 and came out of the pack, one of the most phenomenal rounds, especially for a 46-year-old, and beat us all. And I think I ended up finishing 4th, which, I was kind of happy about because I shot 77 or 78 in the first round. So it was nice to get 3 good rounds, under my belt, the second, third, and fourth round. So,
yeah.
Is the pressure at the Masters different than the pressure at other majors?
I don't think so. I think one of the things that's really special for Augusta is that, especially for the fans and the patrons that go there and the people who watch on TV, is that it's the only major that's played on the same course every year. So there's a familiarity to everyone watching that. Oh yeah, I know the 14th hole at Augusta, it's a dogleg left, and 13's the par 5 over the water. Whereas, people don't know St Andrews, and they don't know maybe Bolter's Roll or Shinnecock or any of those courses as well as Augusta. So it's wonderful in that respect. But from a player's point of view, you've seen, especially as you've played there on many occasions, you start seeing where all the disasters happen. And, you try and put those out of your mind. Guys dunking in the water and making 9s on the 12th hole and things like that. So, but it's a very precise golf course in that when the pins are in certain areas, you really have to hit the ball in a safe area. If you try and take the pin on and you don't hit the shot quite like you want to, or as you should do, you're going to end up paying the penalty. So, and people can relate to that. That's what the greatest thing is. People can actually, the fan at home watching on TV can see, okay, I remember Curtis Strange making a mistake here, or whoever it was, or Seve Ballesteros making a mistake here, and that cost them the Masters that year.
What's it like to be number 1 in the world? I think a lot of us will never
at anything.
Anything. Yeah, number 1 truck driver. I don't care what it is, but no, you sat at the top. You sat at the top of the official World Golf Rankings for 43 weeks. So is that something you sit there and think about, or no? You just keep being Nick Price.
It's something that meant an awful lot to me, especially in my later years. But for me, it was a byproduct of how well I was playing at the time. And for someone to say, well, I'm going to turn around and go, I'm going to be number 1 in the world. There's so much golf to play before you get to that situation. So, taking each shot as it comes, each hole as it comes, each tournament as it comes, and you keep winning and you keep doing well, that's the byproduct, is getting to number one in the world. But I think it'll be very hard for anyone to start at the beginning of the year, unless they're in number 2 or number 3 or maybe number 4 spot in the world ranking, saying at the end of this year I want to be number 1. It's really I think you lose your focus on what you're trying to do on the golf course if you start thinking about trying to get to number 1 in the world.
Part of that run, 94 PGA Championship, and that was at Southern Hills. I used to work in the Tulsa market, so I've hacked around that golf course many a times. But that wasn't that Arnie's last PGA Championship?
I believe it was. So there was a lot of special things about that, because we hadn't been back to Southern Hills for quite a long time. I think Hubert Green won there in '77, the U.S. Open, but a major championship hadn't gone back to Southern Hills for like 17 years. And then, Arnold played his last one. So, Arnold, for my generation anyway, gave us so much to the game. He gave, basically what Tiger's done for the young guys today is what Arnold did for us back in the 70s and 80s. So, it was very sad for all of us when he bid farewell to competitive golf.
Well, and it was very strange to tie this into Southern Hills, and what I want to ask you about next, to see Southern Hills last year, 2022, the defending champion, Phil Mickelson, not playing in it because he's gone over to Liv. You've been such a great ambassador, Nick, for the PGA. I'm not sure where things stand now with Liv and PGA. To be honest with you, it's gotten a little too just convoluted at this point. But it does seem like this merger isn't happening as quickly as they had thought it would or said it would. And it seems like for at least this next coming season, maybe a couple more, we're still going to have these two different entities, and where some of your best U.S. ambassadors of golf are not playing in these PGA Tour events. Where do you stand on that, and how do you hope to see this conclude?
You know what? I'm really saddened that the game is fragmented, the way it is now. It's sad. I know some of the guys don't talk to some of the guys on the Live Tour because they feel like they jumped ship. I mean, I think there was all this money coming into the game. It's just a pity that they didn't figure out a way, whether you want to blame the Live and the PIF guys or whether you want to blame the PGA Tour. I don't really care. I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but it's just a pity that they couldn't come together and put all of this money into the game of golf globally, not just for 48 people. It's fine to do that and say, okay, 48 people. But what makes us look good on the PGA Tour is that we're beating 165 or 163 guys every week. Mm-hmm. It's not a limited field. I've never been a huge fan of limited field events. Because a guy who plays really well, who might be 90th in the world ranking, can beat the guy who's first in the world ranking. That happens regularly. I don't want to say all the time, but and that's what makes golf go around, as far as I'm concerned. So I hope there is a settlement. I want to see everyone get back to playing against each other. I want to see the top players getting back to play against each other, and there's certainly room for the Live Tour some way, whether it's incorporated or alongside the PGA Tour, I don't know. But the sooner they resolve this whole issue, the happier I'm going to be. And there's going to be a lot of golf fans that are going to be happy too, because we're going to get really the strongest fields in golf again.
Mm-hmm. Well, we want to thank you for carrying the torch for the game for as many years as you have, and now you're in the design game, and we want folks to check it out, CelettaGolf.com. If you want to see some of the images, some of the early renderings that they have, and what Nick's been working on, some really exciting stuff, and it looks beautiful just on these first renderings. So if you have any interest in what's going on in Mayaca City and the build that's about to take place, we encourage you to check out the website again, CelettaGolf.com. Nick, thank you so much for being a part of our show here tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thank you.
The great Nick Price joining the No Off Days podcast. A lot of great stories, a lot of great insight into what makes a good golf course as well. Nick Price, we appreciate his time.
I hope he lets me play after I made those rude comments about the Alligators. Do you feel like he'll keep me off the course?
No, because I think you scared all of the viewers. Why Alligators are so scary on a golf course, and
So I'll have the course to myself, is
There
what
you
you're saying.
go.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Good.
All right, BK, come on in here. What do we have set up for this last segment now?
A little quiz on traffic signs.
Okay.
Traffic signs.
That's right.
Good.
In the
Yeah.
theme of sign stealing. So
Sign stealing,
So
yeah.
our podcasting audience probably going to have to check this one out on YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll do our best to describe what we see.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I think.
These are international traffic signs that look kind of different than what they would mean here in the States. Yeah. So
Scott's going to have an advantage. He's been to Europe
the
recently, I
traveler.
believe.
He's
Yeah.
the international
yes.
traveler.
Yes. Well, I don't pay attention to signs.
Mind,
if you've seen me drive around here, I'm not paying attention to
Holy
many
cow,
signs.
that's the truth.
mind what gap?
Okay, we're going to start off in Sweden. How about that? Here's the first one. Take a look at that. What
Let's
is that
see.
sign?
Well, that looks like an egg in a goblet, and
And a
and
guy
bed,
in a bed.
sleeping with an arrow pointing up.
That's his roof of his house, I think.
Okay, so it's a hotel, and then that has to be like it's a bed and breakfast.
This is a rest area.
yeah,
A rest area sign.
that's some type of Swedish cuisine there in the goblet, and that's a place to sleep.
There you go. Roll it.
Is that what it is?
It is a bed,
Oh,
bed
Scott
and
nailed it.
breakfast.
Good
How about
one.
that?
Well, it's weird that they have signs for bed and breakfasts.
I know.
And it's a perfect.
I mean, we have like there's like
we have Yelp.
yeah,
we have
got
other
a
things.
Quality Inn, next stop at bed and breakfast.
Oh, I like that.
Very
So
good.
I want to know what that breakfast item is. Is that an egg?
It
It's
looks
got to
like
be
an
an egg, yeah.
dinosaur
Why
egg.
do they eat eggs in a cup?
But that's like is that like a poached egg or something?
Yeah,
or
you know,
something where they
I've seen them
crack the
at
top of the
fancy
shell?
places. Yeah, served in that, and you get your spoon and you tap it. And,
Okay.
Yeah.
So either an extremely small cup or that's a giant egg.
It's a Triceratops egg.
All right, next sign.
Next one, Nick Price may know this is South Africa. Tell me what this sign means.
Oh.
No pushing people into the water.
What we're seeing here for our listening audience is there's an outline of a figure that appears to be a female because it has the shape of a dress, and there's I guess a male because it doesn't have a dress.
He doesn't
And
have any
is-
clothes on,
He
in
is
fact.
he is
He's
falling
nude.
into what appears to be water.
Yes.
Her arm is outstretched as if she has
Pushed him.
pushed him.
Yeah. No murder here. Please do not commit that here. I don't know. It looks like he's jumping into the water, so maybe a high tide or rip current or something like that.
I'm gonna say that this is. You said this is in South Africa.
South Africa,
This
yes.
is South Africa. This is outside, some type of legal offices, and this sign is warning you to not reveal the value of your life insurance policy. That's what this means.
Wow.
Okay, this is like a prenup thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what it is, Chris. Slippery surfaces.
She's reaching out to try to save him.
Yeah.
This is heartbreaking.
It is.
This is so sad. Oh, it's like the Notebook on a road sign.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one's from UK. It's a detailed one. What is that sign?
It's a big white sign with a red circle. That's all it is.
Gosh.
Well, red means stop.
Yeah.
Circle, it's like a tunnel. Don't go into the tunnel. That's
Yeah.
what I'm going to say.
Don't go.
It's a tunnel sign.
Maybe you see it at what do they call their subway there? Their the tube. This is
The
a
subway.
don't go into the tube sign. That's what
tube.
that means.
It means no vehicles. You can
Only bicycles.
only bicycles being pushed.
Oh, well, couldn't they have given us the silhouette of a bike and a
They-
thumbs up next to it? or
No,
something?
because then they would think that they could ride their bikes.
Exactly.
And no, you have to push them wherever this is, which is probably inside the tube, to be honest.
Only bicycles being pushed. Well, that
Okay.
sounds like torture.
It
I don't want to
does.
go there.
It
All right.
does. Okay, next one going to Germany.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me what this sign means.
Oh boy.
If
Okay.
you speak German, you may have an advantage.
Spilinder Kinder. Achtung.
Achtung is a warning, right?
Okay.
I know that from a U2 album.
Spilinder, Kinder. The Kinder has got to be kids, right? So don't let the kids jump. What is that? It's
They're
like a It's like
Bursting out of a
a yellow triangle that they've broken out of.
yeah.
Oh, it's got to be. Oh, I know. It's got to be a school zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Warning,
So,
kid
yes.
kid jailbreak. Straight ahead.
There's a kids crosswalk. It's a school zone, so you got to slow down.
That's what I
they're
believe.
they're leaving that triangle. They're leaving school for the day.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
It is warning children playing.
Okay, there we go.
Very good.
What are they playing?
Yeah.
They're
Break out of the triangle.
That's what it looks like.
Okay.
It's such an elaborate sign. I mean, somebody came up with this.
Yeah. You can almost see the expression in the children's movements there.
Look at, they're so happy.
Quite
to leave.
oh no, that one's falling. It's another slippery surface sign. Oh.
Okay, how about this one? I like this one. It's an actual traffic sign.
Yeah, so there's a big cloud of some type of explosion above a car.
Yeah.
So it's not happening at the hood, so it looks like the car's fine, but I think no smoking in your vehicle. What country is this?
This is England.
Well, it's also located inside a red circle, which we know means that you can't ride a bike.
You can't push. You have to push your bike.
Yeah. So,
gosh. It's now you said Scott, you think there's nothing wrong with the vehicle. It looks like there's something wrong with its rear. Like this is an exhaust
like
situation.
Explosives in the trunk.
Like no
carrying gas cans.
No. What is it? Harmful exhaust. Like this is an area where you can't. You have to stop for an emissions check.
Well, maybe they have to walk their car here.
You have to push your car.
You have to. This is a car pushing zone.
Man, they're tough in England.
Yeah.
Scott hit on it. You hit on it, Scott. No vehicles allowed to transport explosies.
Okay.
So
do we need a sign for that?
Yes. If you don't see it, you're more than welcome.
Must be an issue, yeah.
Right.
You're free to roll.
Shouldn't that be understood?
This is the dynamite lane.
And here we go. Last one. Name that sign. What does it mean? Again, it's in England.
Okay, so we got a car with a motorcycle on top of it.
Okay. And we have
Inside
the red circle.
That red circle.
Yeah, there it is.
So it's something you cannot
no,
do.
it's another, can't do this, can't do that.
I mean, it looks like a warning for Evel Knievel. I'm going to say no car jumping. No car jumping on your motorcycle. No stunts.
I'm going to say it's an area where you can't, although if this is true, they could have drawn it better, but you can't pull a trailer with another vehicle on it. So you know how you hook your motorcycle trailer up to your truck? You can't do that here.
Wouldn't you put a trailer on it,
That's what I said. They could have drawn it better.
Instead of a motorcycle on top of the car?
I would do a lot of things differently.
Maybe you can't have that you can't have stacked cars. You know, like like a car transport.
Brian really likes this one, so this must be good. Okay.
It's somebody's jumping the shark right there. I think that's Fonz.
You can't operate any motor vehicle in this area. Motorcycle, car.
I don't care what it is.
What have you.
You're walking everything through this tunnel.
And especially an exploding truck. Don't bring that through here either.
Go ahead, Chris. Cato got it right.
Yeah.
No vehicles whatsoever allowed.
Okay. Yeah, that covers your base. You could have just had the car, but then a motorcycle would think. But I could squeeze through here.
I could do this.
Nope, you're included.
And those are the only two types of vehicles they have in the UK.
Right.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
no buses. Buses are allowed. Buses are okay.
Maybe it's a bus lane. I don't know.
Well, this was educational.
It was.
Now I feel like we're gonna be. I'm probably gonna forget all of those, but.
I know one you won't forget. You won't forget that bed and breakfast. You'll pull that wagon of yours quickly off the Swedish interstate.
I'm so hungry for an egg in a cup right now. You know who would know what that is? Jim Harbaugh. He would know exactly what that is.
He would have stolen that sign.
He's a big fan of eggs. Very good. Okay, BK. Our audio audience, you're going to have to go check it out online. Let me tell people where they can find the show. That would be fox13news.com/nodpod, and you can get the whole show right there in video and audio form. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify so that the podcast is sent to you each and every week directly to your phone. You don't even have to look for it. Big thanks to our guest, Nick Price, and big thanks to you for enduring what was a very difficult conversation about college football.
It was trying.
I'm not sure that we landed on anything definitive, did we?
We prevailed, I believe.
The big winner, Jimbo Fisher.
Of course.
It's never felt so good to be fired. My goodness.
Hey, big show next week. Big Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Big
what are we doing
show.
next week? Are you teasing something?
You're cooking the turkey.
Okay. We might have to do a little breakdown of the best sides.
I'll bring a little side dish.
Sounds good.
And it won't be green bean casserole.
Okay.
That stuff is nasty.
It better rhyme with sweet potato casserole. I'm tired. All right. Until next time we are on, there are no off days.